We are back on Taking Care of Business on Kern Radio News Talk, 1180, 1230 KGEO, 1410 KERI, 1000 KKIM in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and 3 times a week across the Internet on knookmedia.com. Clay, I can't believe that's the last time I'm going to say that.
Thank God.
Our guest by phone is one of our very, very favorite guests, Dr. Walid Phares, Fox commentator, author of a great book, The Lost Spring. And I have to tell you, in Dr. Phares' books, he's predicted in a lot of ways a lot of the things that have happened. He's been a soothsayer, unfortunately, I should say. And Clay, you had a question for Dr. Phares.
Well, I did, and this is a little different direction than we were on, but I was curious, what is the future for Israel?
Well, that's a question that many people, both in America and in the region, and obviously in Israel, are asking. Not the foes of Israel. The foes of Israel, that would be Iran and Hezbollah and Al-Qaeda. They have their mindset on what should be the future of Israel. We're talking about the process that has begun of negotiations between Arabs and Israelis producing Camp David with the Egyptians. It seems to be holding another agreement, Wadi Arba, with the Jordanians. It seems to be holding, there's armistice with Lebanon and Syria, but that's, these two countries are controlled by Iran and Hezbollah. So the dangerous situation of flare-up between Israel and these two countries is always there. But the most imminent battlefield is between, obviously, Hamas and Israel. And for the public to understand, yes, there is a political crisis, very sharp political crisis between the Palestinian Authority and the State of Israel. We know it, the Israelis, Palestinians knows that. But there is something else between Hamas and Israel. Hamas, which, by the way, has been accused by the PLO, by the PA, as a terrorist organization for having killed many of them, that Hamas has been, since the mid-90s, the major obstruction to peace between Palestinians and Israelis, between Arabs and Israelis, and between Arabs themselves, unfortunately. And for that matter, Hamas will be there for as long as the Iranian regime and Hezbollah are supporting them. That's the equation.
Well, I want to piggyback on the question Clay asked, and you and I have talked about this in the past. Has it got to the point now where I've thought for the last couple of years that Israel would have to do something with Iran's nuclear capability? But are we to the point now where they can't do anything? Is it past the point of them doing anything militarily?
Well, on the strict strategic military perspective, obviously, when the program of the Iranians was smaller, when the Iranian armed forces had less capacities of retaliation, when the Iranians were not in Iraq, not in Syria, and not in Lebanon, of course the Israelis had, a better capacity of either initiating an action or responding to an action. Now, the whole landscape has changed. Iran is very advanced in terms of its weapon system, is also present in Iraq. So the battlefield is not just in Iran, it's also in Iraq. It's present in Syria. I mean, now the Israelis, if you ask them or try to get that information from them, they're not just looking at what they can do in terms of confrontation with the Iranians in Iran. The Iranians are manning long-range missile batteries in Syria. That's at 20 minutes flight from Israel. And Hezbollah in Lebanon, that's at 5 minutes flight, missile flight from Israel. The whole landscape has changed, but the most important matter, and you know it, gentlemen, it's the landscape, the political landscape between the Obama administration and the current Israeli government. It's not going well. Obviously, if Israel is attacked, then no U.S. government will let go of the Israelis. They will have to support them. But if the Israelis, this government, decide to do a preemptive strike, I think they will not get the green light from Washington at this point in time, not before 2017.
I had another question. I keep jumping around because I have so many things on my mind, but we keep hearing about ISIS, and the president refers to them as ISIL. Is there any difference, and what is the difference between the terms?
Both terms are not correct, by the way, but now we use them. The media uses them. We're comfortable with them. ISIS, meaning the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, which is pretty much what they are. ISIL is the Islamic State in Iraq and in the Levant, Levant, which is a little bit larger than Syria. These are semantics. ISIS today is the Islamic State or the Islamic Caliphate. That's what they call themselves. There is no much difference between the intention behind the last name, the Islamic State or the Islamic Caliphate, is that ISIS or IS wants to go beyond Iraq, beyond Syria, into Lebanon, eventually into Palestine and Jordan, and all the way to what they call home. And what is home for them? Mecca and Medina. They want to seize these large areas inside Saudi Arabia to really, be considered as the protector of these holy shrines in Islam, and then win. The radicals would win if that happens.
And we're having a conversation with Dr. Walid Phares, author of The Lost Spring and a Fox Middle East expert. Question for you, Dr. Phares, on the controversy about the weapons of mass destruction. Did they have them, didn't they? Isn't what's going on in Syria proof that there was weapons of mass destruction?
Yes, indeed. I mean, the use by the Syrian regime of chemical weapons. And more important than that, even before the civil war in Syria, the Minister of Defense of Syria and other high-ranking officials have actually not just admitted, they were actually, very proud that Syria has missiles with chemical weapons, unlike in Iraq, where Saddam Hussein said, after the war with Iran, we got rid of them. And he was not telling the truth. He still had some weapons. Most experts believe that the weapons were transferred to Syria, and that's what we saw during the Syrian civil war. But the Syrian regime was no shy about saying we have weapons of mass destruction. Now, when the civil war occurred, they said we did not use them. And now they're saying we got rid of them. I don't believe that they did not use them. They did. And I don't believe they got rid of all of them. They still have some.
I wanted your thoughts on a book that I'm reading that I really, really enjoy. In fact, if we were going to continue the show, he'd be a guest I'd have on. Former Secretary of Defense Gates, in his book, he talks about how the military is still geared in terms of fighting conventional wars, but all of our wars, with one or two since World War II, have been these unconventional wars, and we're not really prepared for it. And that's why we kind of sputter when we're in this kind of conflict. Do you agree with that?
Look, this is a very interesting debate and discussion. I've been part of very small parts of it when I was teaching at National Defense University and continue to give lectures to various agencies without going into the details. What escapes us sometimes is that we don't look at what the other side wants to do, what kind of war they want to fight against us. If we look at right now, when we're fighting Al-Qaeda and the early stages of ISIS or Hezbollah, we have rather classical capacities of a superpower, aircraft carriers, big planes, and they are terrorists. But you ask the question inside the jihadist movement, what is it that you want to do? Let's suppose you win an area in the world. What is next? They will tell you we're going to become like you. So the future of any guerrilla, the future of any terror organization is not to stay forever terror organization. Look at ISIS. ISIS has they didn't do their birthday yet. It's like 9 months or 7 months, and they are trying to get missiles. They are trying to build or to seize airports. Why would they seize airfields if they are only terrorists? They want to become a regime and therefore equip themselves. So when we use our traditional power to stop a terrorist organization from becoming a regular state, basically that we are preventing them from becoming more dangerous in the future. Now, what I agree on is that we need to enter the conflict much earlier. And that's really an American thing. In World War I, we entered later. In World War II, we entered later. In Vietnam, and now in the war on terror, of course, on 9/11, the 9/11 Commission said, we should have engaged early. It doesn't mean engage with kinetics and with military power. We could have engaged in different ways. So I would say that the former Secretary of Defense is right, but what is needed in the next chapter, if he writes another book, or if I do, is to us to do at the end of the day, not just us.
Dr. Phares, last question from Clay is, who has the ability to destroy our electric grid and who might use it?
There is, as we see right now, and we're going to learn more in 2015, a network that obviously is connected to the North Korean regime, but also is connected to the Iranian regime and may be backed by some quarters of the international terrorist organizations. Not sure if Russia and China as government are involved, but we're pretty sure that their intelligence services at least know who's behind these attacks.
Dr. Phares, my last question for you. We've got about a minute and a half left. One of my very favorite shows was one you and I were talking about the history of after World War I, when they designed this map that's been a disaster for everybody. Iraq is really 3 countries. How do we concentrate on victory? What is really victory for us? Because there is no concrete, yes, we've won the war like there is, say, in a World War II or a World War I.
It's not, you're right. You're absolutely right for this last question, because what seemed to be victories after World War I and World War II and all these regional wars is that you actually seize a territory, a geographical area, and then you change the course of history. Now it's not anymore land, it's people. To me, a victory was when 33 million Egyptians demonstrated against the regime of the Muslim Brotherhood and brought them down. And now they are on their way to continue that fight by themselves with their own resources. A victory could have been when 1.5 million Lebanese in the Syrian Revolution walked against Assad and Hezbollah. A victory could have been when 1.8 to 2 million Iranians demonstrated against the Ayatollahs. The victories of the future are going to be people seizing their own destiny, and our role will be to backing these people, not abandoning them, unfortunately, as we have been doing over the past 6 to 7 years.
Dr. Phares, thank you so much. And again, I want to thank everybody. Thank Clay. I've enjoyed every minute of this show. It's been great. And I hate to put it this way, but I have to say, we will not see you in 167 hours on Taking Care of Business. God bless you all.